What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe.
And Amy.
Review. It's our weekly show where we review the magic stories as they're posted on Wizard's website, now with 100% more actual stories to review. Because we are back on Ravnica for the Guilds of Ravnica stories, and we are starting this week, week 1, essentially, with Under the Cover of Fog by Nikki Drayden. My quick review at the top was that I enjoyed this one. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. And we will talk more about that in the full review itself, but I encourage you to go read this one. Amy, what about you?
I definitely liked it. There were some parts that I was a little confused about. It just lacked some realism, I think.
Okay.
And
we'll get into that.
Yeah, but I think overall I definitely liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool way to start it off, get you invested right away. So I encourage you to go read the story, and conveniently, if you don't know where to find the story, but you're watching this video, just go down into the description box below and click on that link, and it'll take you right to the story. Feel free to read it all the way through, and then come back here. It wasn't oppressively long. It's time-consuming, just like any other story is, because it's a short story, and you need to give yourself some time to read it. But, you know, feel free. Go read that story, then come back here and chat with us in the comments, etc., because, as we always say, we review, we don't summarize. Especially if you watched last week's video.
Well.
It's almost like when you're pressed for content, so apologies, everyone, about last week. But for this week, for Under the Cover of Fog, to the full review itself, this story followed one guy. I mean, it followed like his family and things like that, but it was about one guy. It was about Merritt, a Demir spy who was working on the docks for a Minotaur, and that Minotaur wasn't super happy with him. But what I really liked about the way that this story started, as I said, it was a breath of fresh air. This story made me care about this character from very shortly after the story began. And I mean, it showed us so well. It showed his, like, at first it's like, ooh, it's cool, like he's a spy and he's checking out all these things and it was cool, right? That's kind of the hook to bring you in, but the thing that kept me there was then you find out his motivations. He's got an asshole boss. Okay, that's relatable. Hashtag relatable. Not to me this exact moment.
Yeah, no, I have a good boss too.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been there.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, have we been there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely relatable on that front. But otherwise, you know, then you get to his home. And there's his wife, and she's holding a baby while also trying to do things, to make things to sell. Shout out to Etsy users. You're like trying to make things to sell on the market in town.
Also relatable. That of course you're doing this stuff while holding a baby.
That's what I mean. Oh yeah, and that there's another child in the house as well. And then they give Nikki gives descriptions of the house and how in tatters it is, and that the fact that the older
child's like being crazy and she can't handle him.
Yeah, well, but she sleeps in like a nook in the corner with random tattered blankets thrown over her that have like heat spells that just fall off of it because it's that bad. So again, that also gets you, you're like, oh man, this guy, I really hope that things work out for him. And by the end of the story, they do or they don't, but you get to see him go through his life and at least this, small look into his life and the decisions that he makes, for better or worse, because I'll ask you before we get into it.
Okay.
What were your thoughts of him as a character prior to the theft elixir scenario?
Yeah. I don't know. Pretty much your average guy, I guess.
Were you rooting for him?
Meh.
Okay. I was. Again, crappy boss. just trying to make money for his family. Also, in the background, trying to appease the Demir and make sure that he's doing well enough for them. But
also trying to make his wife happy. I mean, his
oh,
wife
yeah.
is doing a lot of work at home, and she just said to him, "Look, we need food.
Do whatever you got to do.
Just make it happen."
Yep.
And I have said that to you many times about things. Just make it happen. I don't care how. Do it.
To be fair, that's usually started with just shut up and do it, which again, totally get it. I don't know if you've been watching these shows, but talking is like my thing. So, and it kind of grates on people that have to deal with that all the time. So, yeah.
Over time. Not on a consistent basis, but over time.
So, yeah, so as anyone who's ever marathon JaARs probably feels like. But yeah, so that up till that moment where she's like, go do whatever you have to do, he was the main character. He was the hero. I was rooting for him. Like, underdog story. I'm all about it. I'm ready.
And I think that's maybe why I wasn't, because it was such a typical underdog story that I was just like, I was waiting to find out what was going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't like, oh my God, I hope everything will go okay for him. I didn't care that much.
Okay. I just wanted to see what was going to happen. I mean, I definitely, if you stopped it at that point where she said, go do whatever you have to go get our food for our baby, I would not have gone anywhere near what actually happened in terms of predicting what was going to happen next.
Really?
Oh God, no. With the elixir and the bread and the baby and Lazav? No way.
But, I mean, it took a very bizarre turn. But, I mean, going and stealing food is probably what I, would have expected.
Right, but not from his boss's house. He wasn't anticipating doing that at first.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
weird,
yes, and you're like big burly minotaur of a boss. Like, you couldn't find literally anywhere else to go. I
think he just didn't think it through. He was just like, like the first thing that popped into his head because she said to him, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And so instead of him sitting there and being like, okay, let's work out the finances, let's budget, that's what she probably would have done.
Yeah.
So what he did was just something way off in La La Land.
Yeah.
Just whatever popped in his head.
And that really kind of became the theme for the rest of the story was Merrick does not think these things through.
No.
He just, Merritt doesn't think these things through. He just doesn't. And he has that moment when he's in his boss's house where he's like, I'm not a good thief. I'm not good at this. Like, my whole family are thieves, and I took after them, but I suck. And it really was, that classic imposter syndrome, am I right? Like, just that feeling of, like, I'm not good enough. Like, all these other people around me are so much better. I hear that frequently. I've felt it on occasion myself. Like, imposter syndrome is real. It's a real thing. And
the thing, too, is, like, being Demir and him talking about that over and over and over again, how he's afraid that they're judging him and watching him and they're going to kick him out and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And it's like maybe you just need to find a different guild, guy.
Well, I was going to say, more so than
that suits you a bit more.
More so than he was afraid that they were going to kick him out. They were afraid that they were going to make him disappear.
Yeah.
That's not kicking him out. That's ending it. Whatever that means.
They were going to paint his house.
Clean his clock, all that good stuff. Yeah, and so again, it's like, oh man, this guy is like so down on his luck that he can't even believe in his own abilities, right? He can't blow the fog away on the dock at the beginning. He can't do any of this stuff. And then when he drinks the elixir, which again, like 3 drops, but then the Minotaur wife walks in, or girlfriend, or partner, or whatever, walks in, and he just spills it all over himself, and he's like, he says that hilarious line.
Yeah, he's a spaz.
Again,
Another relatable.
I was going to say, been there. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, and he says that hilarious line where he's like, I would not have imagined that anyone in all of Ravnica would have wanted to wake up next to my boss. That's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious.
I mean, I feel like I wouldn't have wanted to be his wife, personally. But
I thought it was kind of funny, speaking of the boss, Grimbly Wathis, by the way, is the boss's name, Minotaur.
that's a great name.
Yes, but you know what I found interesting? I mean, there are just those people. I've had those people in my life where you just call them by their full name.
Right.
This story did that literally every time they referenced Grimbly Wathis, he was Grimbly Wathis. He wasn't Grimbly. One time, Lazav called him Mr. Wathis. That was it. Every other time he came up in the story, which was frequently, he was Grimbly Wathis, which I thought was hilarious. It's like, wow, really? Every time? Like, Merritt doesn't call him Mr. Wathis or...
what is that backwards? Because maybe it's some kind of a code.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
They're trying to let us in on something.
Let us know. Let us know in the comments down below. But then we get to the tipping point.
It's like nickel bolas,
Yeah, maybe, but people...
he's no elder dragon, but some people just are their full name,
That's what I said. I've had people in my life who I just call their first and last name every time.
Yeah, that's
true.
definitely not me. That's no.
No.
I'm not like a nickname kind of person either. I feel like
that's fair.
Most people don't give me nicknames really.
So, we then get to the tipping point in the story, at least in my head, where he goes from I went from reading him as a sympathetic underdog to a moron who deserves everything that happens to him. 100%. And I had to double take. I'm like, what is happening? How did it go from this dude who I'm like, come on, man, you got this. Like, Go feed your family. Like, sure, you're going to steal bread. Nobody gives a damn. It's from your boss who's kind of a dick. We get it. Just steal bread. You're good. Oh, God, there's a Minotaur wife, girlfriend, whatever. Okay, hopefully you get out of this unscathed. Okay, you spilled the elixir all over yourself. You got tempted. You took the elixir with the bread. Like, you were like, I got the bread. Ooh, but there's elixir. And you kind of ignored the bread for a second, although you still had it in your hand, but you were like, the elixir's more important. And so you 3 drops, right? It was 1 drop, then 2, then 3. And the second drop was its own paragraph to kind of let you know, like, this was something that he took time to think about doing.
Yeah.
Right? He took that first drop, and then that second one, he was like, nah, I can do a second. You know what? The third will really put it over the edge. And then the wife walks in and he spills it all over himself. Right. And unbeknownst to him, he gets it on the bread, and then the baby eats it and becomes, as this is Amy's reference, not mine, but he becomes who?
Jack.
From The Incredibles. Totally. Absolutely what that was. And so, it really surprised me. It was like, what happened?
Yeah, it was like the story was just had a specific trajectory, and then nope.
Yeah, and you know what? First of all, wow, you almost hit me in the face.
I'm sorry.
I felt the breeze from your hand. Second of all, though, I don't know yet if that means that it was. Sorry, not that I don't know. I don't feel that made the story bad. I don't mind a curveball, although
it's one hell of a curve.
I was going to say, I know you and I slightly differ on this point.
Okay.
But I felt like it was, the rest of the story I had to change my perspective on Merritt a lot for the rest of the story, because like I said, he deserved everything he got after that.
Yeah.
Everything, right? Stealing, I get it. Being distracted by the elixir, okay. That's a tougher one to forgive you for, but I get it. You got caught, do what you can to get out of there, and then just get out of there. But then he goes to the dock, and uses his new fog powers on the Viashino, and the crate falls, and it falls on the boss, and it falls on the investor, and they have to jump in the water, and he ruins all the whiskey, and then runs home and tries to...
Yeah.
It went so far off the rails. And so, again, to me, I was just super shell-shocked. I was like, what just happened? Why did it happen?
A chain reaction of BS is what just happened.
And honestly, it really led me to believe that it was the elixir.
Yeah.
That it was the elixir that, like, changed his thought process or whatever. Like, that's immediately what I thought of, where I was like, this elixir had to do that.
I don't know if it changed his thought process. I don't know. A part of me wants to believe it was his luck. You know, like, just, you know.
It tanked.
When it rains, it pours. You know?
There were a lot of references that we were able to make with this story to other things in pop culture. So I'm going to start with the super topical reference of Aladdin. And I do say super topical somewhat sarcastically, but actually also not, because the poster for the live-action Aladdin movie starring Will Smith as the genie was actually revealed today, so it is somewhat topical. And I think the first look comes tomorrow, the day that this video comes out, so it is somewhat topical. But there's that concept of the Cave of Wonders. Like, you go in to get this one thing. If you touch anything else, the whole cave comes down on top of you because you're not worthy.
Right.
And in this case, he went to steal bread. If he had just taken the bread and left, he might have gotten out scot-free.
But the greed, though.
Yeah, exactly. And so he was punished for his greed with literally everything else. Literally everything else that happened in that story. And it's very interesting to me from that perspective. Now, then we have the whole Lazav. Again, we did the Jack reference as well. And finally, what was your big reference that you felt this story had?
Oh yeah, well, all the references that were made to the sort of mundane spells that just kind of were always happening in the background.
For the locking of their doors, the heat spell on the blankets,
right?
The floating candle near her leg or whatever that she was working with.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they did that because I felt like because it hadn't been done before.
Right.
But it just felt like we were reading Harry Potter.
It seemed like the Weasley's house. It
right?
did. Where, like, the dishes are doing themselves off in the corner, and, you know, there's, like, random things, like, flying around, and they're, like, you know, inanimate objects, but they're still somehow flying. Like,
right.
So I get that.
It's just, like, the exposition part of Harry Potter to, like, introduce Harry Potter to the wizarding world by like having all of these things happening at once in one location.
And I keyed into it a bit, but I didn't have as big of a problem with it as you did, but I did notice it. I was like, oh, that's like Harry Potter. And I said to myself, I was like, it's like the Weasley's house. Like, just all these random things are just like traditionally happening, and no one bats an eye because it makes sense to them, right? This is the world that they live in, and even this guy, Merritt, before drinking the potion, had some magic abilities kind of innate to himself that they weren't great, right? He was no Lazav, and even with the elixir, he was no Lazav. We saw Lazav, and that was sweet. I mean, I'm a Dimir guy, so I love Lazav just as a concept. I want that card very badly, but like it was really cool to see him in the story as well. But like I said, everything that happened to him after he used his fog powers on that Viashino, he got cocky, greedy, whatever you want to call it, and just, you know, did Grimbley Wathis, say the whole thing, did Grimbley Wathis like need to come to his house at that point? Yeah. Because he looked Wathis looked right at him and was just like, I know that you just did this to me.
Right.
Shoves the investor in the water and then jumps in after him before all that whiskey shatters all over the ground and almost kills them in the process.
Right.
What is wrong with you? You deserve it all. You're so dumb. And so
he's like, losing my job would have been okay, but, you know.
But now the Demir are going to be upset with me. It's like, dude, you're going to lose your life.
Dude, you're an asshole. Like,
It was
like, you're not just gonna lose your job and have the Demir be upset with you. Like, you're gonna lose your wife, you're gonna lose your children, you're gonna lose your ability to stand up. And you think doing magic's that big of a deal?
eat with anything but a
Dude.
straw. Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and I mean, sure enough, because the hoof came down right on his face. And again, that ending, though, was hilarious to me. Where, like, Lazav was like, we will pay off all your debts. Like, get out of here, Grimbley Wathis. And Grimbley Wathis is like, are you kidding? And Lazav's like, all right, spin around room. And the room spins around. And Wathis is like, all right, fine. Whatever you want. Sorry. You know, and he leaves. And
well, and he deserved what he got too.
oh, hell yeah. Yeah, Grimbley's a jerk.
Coming in and stealing somebody's kid?
That's what he was trying for.
That's messed up.
That's real messed up. Real messed up. And Lazav saved him.
Like, I don't care if he accidentally almost dropped something on you or whatever, or on purpose dropped something on. Like, you don't go into somebody's house and steal their kid.
It is pretty messed up. And the fact that Lazav was just sitting there most, if not all, like most of the time,
Just
like
chilling.
for a while,
I'm gonna-
and like
I'm
no
gonna
one,
see how this works out.
no one noticed him there. That's hilarious to me. And then you,
He like camouflaged his body up in.
well, again, he had a lot of different abilities. I just love the fact that like when Merritt looks over, he's like, wow, that Lazav sure is here. And now that I think about it, he's been there for a while. Like, we didn't notice him, even though this is a small, tiny, cluttered-ass apartment.
Right.
We still didn't notice that he was there because he's just that good.
Because the invisible man unraveled the, gauze and just.
The wrappings went away, the trench coat comes off, and he's gone. But yeah, and then just the fact that Lazav's like, we paid off your debt, we're not going to take... And Merritt was strong. He was like, you're not taking my kid. And Lazav's like, we don't want your kid. He's like, that'd be dumb. We don't want him. He's like, we're paying off your debts. You're going to let him be tutored. Someone's going to come and someone's going to tutor him. And then the next thing you know, Merritt's like, I'm here with my family and God, my jaw hurts. Why does my jaw hurt so much? And Great Aunt Melba, or whatever her name was, is here. I didn't write it down because, I mean, good God, it's funny, but I didn't write it down. Apologies. But you know who I mean.
Melba, isn't that a cracker?
Melba toast or something?
Oh, maybe. Like a bread.
Yeah, who knows? I don't care. But Great Aunt whoever is there, and it's sitting in the same chair that Lazav was just sitting in. So it leads me to believe it's actually Lazav being the tutor, but I don't know if it's actually Lazav or if it's just another Demir agent disguising themselves. I assume it's Lazav. Training the child that has now been exposed to this loaf of bread to now be, Jack's trainer.
Well, not this loaf of bread, but this fancy fruit.
The purple fruit that the kid disappeared, got, and then reappeared with. And that the whole family was eating the fruit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and they were like, this is a weird fruit that my wife got from the market. Nope, she sure didn't. But you don't remember that. And again, I don't feel bad for you for it because, God, you suck.
This is all a big drug conspiracy. Lazav has dosed these people with the drugs because he is hoping that it will get them hooked and they will be indebted to him forever.
In fact,
because he will be their dealer.
Oddly enough, despite the joke, joke aside, I'm pretty sure that's literally the opposite of what he was trying to do at the beginning. Because he was on the docks, sending the spy bug into the different, crates to, see and make sure that people aren't smuggling things or whatever. So, kind of the opposite of the drug trade, really.
No. If you are...
A drug kingpin?
Yeah, then you try to make sure that nobody else is a drug kingpin.
Yeah, trying to horn in on your territory.
Yeah.
I get it. That's fair.
You gotta monopolize that.
Who knows? They do just have spies on the payroll. Not always good ones or smart ones, as we saw in this one. But regardless, I look forward to next week's story. I look forward to seeing what happens next because I'm relatively certain, based on how these stories are going, that it will not be a Demir-based story. There are 5 weeks of stories. I assume we will get one from each of the guilds, and we will see where that goes. So whichever of the remaining 4 guilds is next week, I look forward to hearing about it. Because this was cool. It was a cool one-off thing. What I will say
it was
is
fun.
Yes, and what I will say is...
It had whimsy.
Yes, definitely. And again, I appreciated at least being able to see Lazav. I understand that it's a smaller story and you want like I consider it a tertiary character that's being shown here, and their family and kind of the things surrounding them in their everyday life. But I appreciate that a card, a legend, is being shown to us in some way to tie this back to the cards. I appreciate that in general. I will say, before you guys turn us off, because we're not quite done yet, you can check the timestamp below.
We never are.
Speaking of us not being done yet, though, there's another topic that we need to discuss.
Uh-oh.
But we're not doing it in this video.
No.
There is a JaAR bonus video that has probably already come out today. And you can go look for it. It'll probably be linked here at the end for you as well. So please feel free to go check that out. We're going to talk about, let me see if I remember the name of it, just so I get it correct, What to Expect with the Magic Story by Blake Rasmussen. It was an article that came out yesterday, being Tuesday, October 9th. And we want to talk about it, but we didn't want it to take away from our analysis of this story because, as you can see, we were in a very good mood about this story, right? We had comments.
Yeah.
And somewhat criticisms, but they were, you know, all on the...
story was good.
Yes. The other discussion might not necessarily be as good. And
Right.
You'll have to go watch that video to see what you think. And we really hope you join in the conversation in that video, but also, more importantly, in this one. Did you like this story? Are you happy that we're back? Did you want more? Did you want less? What were you missing? What did you love? Please let us know any and all thoughts. Agree or disagree with anything that we've said. We would love to hear from you in the comments down below.
As always, please leave comments.
Yes.
We always read them.
Yes.
We always care.
Yes. And hopefully your fellow viewers also read it and care.
Yeah.
And when you guys get into discussions with each other, we really appreciate it. Obviously, we love seeing your comments regardless. But we love also seeing other people talking with one another and giving their opinions, because that is a great way to build the community and to show off your...
Hashtag Vorthos Pride.
We're back. We're back.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do, always. We're always trying to get that conversation to start, even if all this is the start.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if other people are able to chime in and say this and say that, and then somebody else comes in and said, oh, that made me think of this, and then, you know, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. Because we have those thoughts. We have those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great to be able to voice them and then have other people, you know, come back with theirs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, we want your disagreements. We want your agreements. I am
we
fully...
want that conversation to have momentum.
Mm-hmm. I'm fully aware of the fact that most of the time when people are writing, I have to agree with so-and-so here, that so-and-so is almost always Amy, and I get it. She's smarter than me. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, I get it. But let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us?
Well, but it's not about disagreeing and agreeing.
True.
You know?
True. What are your thoughts in general?
Right. And more importantly, most importantly, what we want to hear are ideas that we didn't think of.
Oh, yeah. Especially, most importantly, what other pop culture references can you make about this story? We got 3 in there, I think. So, Harry Potter, Aladdin, and The Incredibles. What else you got?
Oh, there's a ton.
Oh, Amy made the Invisible Man reference as well.
Yeah.
All right. Regardless, anything and everything, that's what the comments are for. Please feel free to do that.
Yes.
Like I said, there will be videos up here. And the last thing I want to say is next week on Wednesday, because we film these things on Wednesday, so things that happen on Wednesdays for us, we don't get to tell you about until after they've happened. So, next week on Wednesday, if my math is correct, that would be October 17th. Wednesday evening, I will tweet about it, so please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Links to that are in the description below, but we are just at Geek4All YT on Twitter, so feel free to find us there. I'll be tweeting about it when it's happening, but I am going to be live with our good friend Dave, part of DAM314 on Twitch, and I'll be streaming some Spider-Man. I will be returning to stream some Spider-Man. I did it once before. We're going to keep going with that game. Super fun for PS4. So hopefully, if that's something you're into and you want to come check it out, please feel free. Join us. Come and join in the fun. Be a little bit silly, a little bit fun. So I will be there for that. And thank you to Dave for having me, as he has many times in the past. In fact, Amy and I were there last week playing some Jackbox games. So, thank you to him for that.
I will not be there for Spider-Man.
No, correct. Amy will probably be catching up on sleep, like I should be doing, because P.S. it starts at like 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, it's late for us, but I love it, so I'm all about it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I want to thank you for tuning into anything and everything that we do. Like I said,
Yes.
we'll have that bonus video that you should go check out. It's a little bit more ranty than this was.
Yeah.
So hopefully you enjoy that, because we did but didn't.
Or at least feel similarly.
Yeah. But come join in the discussion. Let us know what you think. This has been another episode of JaAR here on Geek for All, now without episode numbers, because good God, we've done JaAR throwbacks, we've done JaAR bonus. There's just too many to keep track of. Feel free to go to the playlist to see how many JaARs we've done, because it's well over 100.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.